Hey, welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is Craig Domann. I'm your host today. And our guest today is Juan Lee. Juan has been on before. Juan is a fabulous young man. He's, let's look here. I got to refresh myself because you're like an author, speaker,
Yeah,
podcaster, all these things.
yeah.
But the biggest thing is clear journey path. Share with everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me again. I really appreciate this. I love the mindset. Anything mindset, I'm all about it. But yeah,
Well, maybe you need to work on your mindset today. Let's work on.
well, you know what? I work on it every day. I'm trying to get better every day. So it's not a day that goes by that I'm not working on it. But yeah, that's
I
what
was
we
working.
that's what we do at Clear Journey. We really try to help people. We establish. I wrote a book a few years back called Love Made Simple: The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. And it's basically about a mindset. It's about having a mindset of success, being able to navigate life more successfully. And that's what we do at Clear Journey. We help people navigate with the right mindset we have four different pillars that we address, and it's financial, relationships, health and wellness, and overall self-improvement. And we use the seven attitudes to help facilitate that. And we use those as the pillars, the things that really allow us to keep the right mindset as we navigate all of these various areas of our lives so that we can get the desired outcome that we're looking for. And that is to be successful and reach our full potential. So that's what we do. We bring people to support them in every area of life so that they can be successful.
All right, man. You got me back on track. I was
Remember me now, huh?
okay. All right. Let's talk about dudes for a second.
hmm
What what are those four areas do guys have the biggest blind spots? Where do they think they got it together and then they don't have it together?
I'm gonna say relationships by far. Relationships because it's interacting with females on the opposite the side. And when you are practical and the other one is emotional, there has to be an understanding and realizing as to what that means. That takes a whole different type of perspective to be able to look and see what the other person, their perspective. And this is really at the crust of our whole journey in life, is being able to see multiple perspectives. And when you talk about a relationship, we're talking about one-on-one, and the best way that you can get into that person is to understand that person. And that goes into sports as just like sports. If you want to compete against somebody head on, you need to know their strengths, you need to know their weaknesses. And then in sports, you're looking to make those weaknesses, you want to accelerate those weaknesses. Now, in relationships with personal and professional relationships, you basically want to do the opposite. You want to be able to gravitate to their strengths, understand their strengths, so as to not accentuate their weaknesses, because anybody accentuating their weaknesses are going to be defensive. You're going to be showing them something that they don't want to see. And that's exactly, if you think about sports mind, that's what we're trying to do, is to make them feel weak so we can feel strong. Now, the opposite of that is in relationships. We're trying to facilitate and build a bond, something that we can work together with, so that we're not looking to accentuate their weaknesses. You're trying to build up their strengths.
Okay. I've never heard anybody ever say that before. And I totally get it. Been married 41 years, and focusing on their weaknesses is not going to get you anywhere. Focusing on their strengths is a good strategy. Dig a little bit deeper. Give an example of how that manifests in a relationship for a man's benefit and to his detriment.
Well, I tell you, all of us, I've been married 29 years, it'll be 29 years this year. And I tell you, the many things that you go through in that process is that no one's the same as you go through this relationship. 5-year relationship challenges are different than 10-year challenges, different than 30, different as you go through this. So just to be honest with you is to be aware of that transitioning, of that process, that where you were in the beginning is not where you're going to be, 10 years. And the thing about it is there's two parts to this. It's a good thing and a bad thing in the sense that you're going to be able to grow. If you don't grow during that process, it's going to be a bad thing. You've got to mature. You've got to reach and be able to accept that growth or that change in our journey. If not, it's going to be very detrimental to the relationship. So that's one of the really big things, is understanding that as you go through this relationship, as time changes, as stages and life changes, you really have to be, so you have to be aware that that's happening, not only in your partner but also in yourself, so that you can show up in the right space at the right time. Things are changing. It's one thing, especially as we're talking about men versus women. It's one thing to know that, women have a monthly cycle. Okay. Now you can make that an issue, or you can accept that and understand that that's something that they're dealing with, and understand how to manage and navigate that. Okay. That each and every person is different. You have to have that conversation. Okay. And even as you go on into life, that same issue changes as you go through life, and as they get older, women get older, they start entering into menopause. These are just realities. That's something that, if you're unaware of these things as life brings, and nobody teaches this, to be honest with you. Nobody tells you that these are the things that you have to experience for yourself. But I'm here to tell you, just to be aware, be open to understand that things are changing. Things are not going to be the same as you go through different stages of life, and be willing and able to adapt.
Well, one of the things I've seen is that you you have a choice as a man to be 10 toes down in your relationship, or be a part-timer. Like, hey, when it's convenient, when it's fun. And what happens is, when you are a part-timer, you don't have any awareness. You don't see the changes. You don't you don't even have the awareness to know that, hey, she's going through something at her work, or she's going through something as a mom. She's going something, her body's changing, and she's not really liking it, and she's not feeling attractive, not because of you, but because of stuff she's dealing with. And so I really think that it's really about being all in, that allows you to be aware. And then I think the hardest thing I've seen in relationships is you don't change at the same pace. So if we look at this, like, let's look at it like an accounting exercise. You've got an income statement and you got a balance sheet. The balance sheet is on that particular day. This is what you got. And the income statement says, over a period of time, this is what you made.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in relationships, you have to be aware of both. But when you're not all in, all you see is the balance sheet. What's going on today? You're not seeing why, how, because of what. You're not tracking with her, right? And so 41 years has taught me a little bit of that.
That's a really good example of being able to understand, being aware of what caused the moment to be the moment. Okay. I mean, because I'm very much about the moment, and being able to maximize the moments. And I tell you, that's a lesson that I've learned in probably the last 10 years, is to understand, if you don't get the journey, you're really probably not going to be able to maximize the moment, and be really there in the moment, the way you need to be there in the moment. And because this journey, like you said, she doesn't understand it in many cases, and it's very difficult for her to articulate it in many cases. So you really have to be very sensitive to what has caused the moment to exist. So for men, and this is something very interesting, because I'm on a couple different podcasts with women, and I try to give them men's perspective, but at the same time take something away from women, to understand that, hey, this is a combined job. This is combined. This is not just something that you're going through.
You're good.
Okay. I just lost you. Are you here? No. For some reason.
Well,
Okay.
you have good awareness then.
You're good now. I'm back. You're back.
All right.
It just went out. But yeah, yeah, but that we're both in this thing together. That's basically the gist of it. Is that we're in it together. And like when you said 10 toes down, that's the mindset that you really have to understand, that being 10 toes down is going to cause you to have to grow. You have to grow. And with the right mindset, you're able to grow because you'll be able to see the value of the relationship that you're in. It's amazing. I believe that a lot of the reasons that relation and we haven't established the value of the relationship.
Well, one of the things, using analogies, one of the things I've seen is that men and women are like volcanoes. And the difference is men, they explode more frequently and then they move on. Women hold it in longer. But when they erupt, it's seismic. And guys don't understand. It's like, hey, I thought things were good. I thought we were doing great. I didn't see it coming. Well, it's because you ignored it and she held it in.
You're absolutely right. Here's the little caveat to that is that it's not that can be flipped. Women can do it also, and when men they can do it also. They can be. I've seen it where women has really been to the point where they, especially in the Black community, and I'm just going to just say it. It is when they're grown up without this. They're having to be this masculine type of role player. They have to be everything to everybody, and they get in this stigma that they have to be able to do it all. And so when that they build that up to the point where they put so many things behind them so that they can deal with the moment, and they find themselves with a lot of baggage to the point where they have preventing themselves from being able to be who they were created to be. And that was to be, when you're saying that in that moment, that emotional thing, it can be very difficult for them to be able to hold on to things. They've not been taught to hold on to things.
I'm going to give you maybe a similar, maybe a different perspective from working with athletes and representing a lot of African American guys and uh, wonderful moms and dads in a lot of cases. What I've seen is that men, generally speaking, regardless of skin color, when a woman doesn't get the job done or she disappears, he replaces her. And women, when a guy disappears, takes on his role.
Absolutely.
And so you've got all these women that have these sons that the man dropped the ball. So she's the dad and the mom. She's the masculine and the feminine for her son. She's really everything for her son. And most of these young men adore their moms, but then they don't know how to be a man because they didn't have a man. And so you got this repeating cycle. And it's not just in the Black community, it's everywhere. It really is everywhere. But I see it there because that's where I live. But it's a different thing where like thing that pops in my head is, like, let's say we're doing some manual labor and a man and a woman are doing it and the woman takes a break. The man just kind of waits until she comes back. Where the woman is going to pick up both buckets and do whatever it needs to be. So it's like, I feel like they've got more responsibility.
Well, and that's just, I tell you one thing my mom used to always tell me when I was growing up. She says, a man's job is from sun to sun. A woman's job is never done. That was the mantra that she lived by. And and I saw her live it because she not only had to go to work, she came home, she took care of the family, and she went to work. So it was like man's job is from, go to work, come home, and it's all over. Hers is go to work, come home, and then get to her second job, which is her family. And so it really showed itself, and it manifests itself. And this is some of the things that we talk about at Clear Journey, and that is how do you recognize the value of a family? And it's typically not manifested into it shows itself in the years out of the family. Once you grow out of that family, and then it manifests itself into the next family. How successful or lack thereof was that family environment? And so, we see it a lot in our athletes, that we see a lot of, very prominent people, but they don't have social skills. They lack that a bond that allows them to be able to understand and relate to people, because they've not been taught how to do that. It's been a survival mentality, and we've not known what it means to thrive in a social environment, or so it really becomes very difficult for them, especially athletes, because now we've gotten money to mask it, and it doesn't work. It finds itself being more of a hindrance than a help, because it puts you in spaces that you're unprepared to be able to manage or handle. It's a difficult thing.
One of the things I see with athletes is that humble guys don't talk because they don't have to, because the media talks for them, their parents talk for them, their friends talk for them, their coaches talk for them. And so they don't even feel comfortable at media days. I had a client that literally, he was a star running back, rest in peace now, passed away. But I would see him after the game, and the media guy would come up to me and say, "Hey, we can't find him. He's supposed to, he scored 3 touchdowns. We need to interview him." He would fake an injury and go hide in the training room so he could avoid talking to the media, because his mom spoke for him, other people spoke for him. So he didn't ever feel comfortable speaking for him. And then what happens is, for these guys to be elite at their sport, they have to be dialed in, locked in, focused on their sport. So they've got other people handling their money. They've got other people handling their schedule. They got other people, even furnishing their house and ordering the furniture. They've got all these people. They've got this team, and it looks wonderful at first blush. But then when the party's over, the curtain closes on their career, they don't know how to do anything, because they didn't have to, because they had people doing it. And now, because they're not making new money, those people go away and jump on somebody else's bandwagon. And now they're left to try to figure it out. And so they're lost. So I've had a son that played in the NFL. You would think my son would be Superman in his transition. He struggled just as much as everybody else. It's tough to go from being the guy to now being a has-been.
It's one of those things. One of the reasons why we picked those 4 pillars, because those 4 pillars is finances, relationships, health and wellness, and self-improvement. These are practical things that we have to deal with daily, and we can't allow ourselves to overlook any of them at any point in time of our lives. We get really, as athletes, we focus on our health, but it's all about how we can maximize our performance. As you get older, you realize that that's just as important as it was as a young child, a young person. And we don't realize that, especially people who are not athletes. They have to now make a transition on the other side. Is okay, if I was a couch potato, you can't be a couch potato in your 60s. It's just not going to work. Okay. But the same thing happens for like an athlete who has been all that focused on his health, which is not, it's easy for him to go to the gym to do that stuff that's required just to keep those things functioning, your body functioning. But when you talk about finances, how were you, how did you steward your finances? How did you understand, because it's easy to walk around with the big bling and all of the stuff when you're young, when it's coming in, but how did you prepare for retirement? How did you prepare for not having it? And that's a common question for us all, no matter what our profession is that we've got to consciously be aware of the fact that what we have to generate revenue in the beginning or early stages of our lives aren't going to be the same thing we had at the later part of our lives. So we've got to make some kind of concessions. We've got to make some provisions for the latter part of our lives. It's a very difficult thing to understand because now you're playing with, okay, how long am I going to be here? Okay, that's the game you're up against. How do you prepare? Because you don't know when that day is going to be, but you have to be able to make some type of provisions for that inevitable time of period where you're not going to be generating any revenue. Okay. And then you have your health, you have your finances, and your relationships are basically all you're going to have. As you get older, it's those connections that are going to keep you flowing, keep you alive. And if those
Agree.
and if those relationships have been very, how do I say it, monetarily based, or if there have been no value to them, no substance to those relationships, that ability to be able to have connections as you grow older, they're not there.
Let me give you an observation, one about your four pillars. I don't think they're equal in importance. I think that relationships are very important. Your finances and your career is very important, and your health is very important. But self improvement is more important than those three. And self improvement is the means for making the other three better. And if like they've done studies about athletes making the transition to the real world, and the NFLPA did one and came out and said 78%, which is, 4 out of 5 guys within 5 years of finishing their career are either broke, divorced, addicted to something, or two of the three, or all three of the three. So those three are your pillars: your relationship, your money, and your health. And I think that when guys are in the heat of their career, they focus more on their physical health than their mental health. But after their career is over, their mental health is way more important. And where they struggle is on mental health. And then the mental health is the igniter for poor relationships because they get depressed, poor money decisions. And so I really feel like I'm gonna take your pillars,
Hmm.
and I see pillars as like foundational
Hmm.
elements.
Hmm.
And that's in like D, let's just call it 2D. And let's go to 3D or 4D. If we go to 3D, self-improvement is the antidote for the other three. Let's go to 4D. Mental health is even more important than that.
You know, the way we look at it, and we on our podcast, we go with mental, physical, and emotional health, spiritual health. And so we capsulized it and put it all under health and wellness. I agree with you 100% because the way I put those pillars out there like that was just to bring attention to self awareness or to self improvement, because self improvement is the attitudes that you need to manage those other four. If you're unable to do the self improvement necessary, in self improvement, it's four areas. It's just know self, accept self, develop self, to give self. Okay. That's where you get that abilities necessary to navigate those financial relationships and your health, because it takes discipline, it takes sacrifice, it takes commitment, it takes all of the things that can accomplish that we talk about as the attitudes that are necessary. That's the behavior that you need to employ in those areas. If you don't know what you don't know, you can't be disciplined to it. You have to be aware of what it is that you need, and then you have to put the behavior to what it is you know. Discipline, sacrifice, it's requirement to navigate this thing called life successfully. To have, and it really relates back to my book when I talk about inner peace. That's the first thing that you have to get. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. Until you become authentically yourself, you know, the relationships that you have aren't going to be authentic. You're going to be masking your finances because you don't know what you're doing. You're just doing what you're exposed to. You're not making decisions. You're just allowing your environment to dictate to you how you're going to maneuver, how you're going to navigate, instead of being at really centered in who you are and knowing what's for you and what's not for you. And it's doing that that then you begin to realize, okay, what do I have to offer? I have my authentic self to offer, not trying to be anybody else, trying to do anything else that's not in line with who I am. That's really being authentic. That's what this is all about, is recognizing who we are and then operating and really demonstrating that to the world so that we have something to offer. Because we're all in this thing together. I have what is uniquely mine. You have what is uniquely yours. And then when we come together, we make something better for both of us.
Seems like everything goes back to identity. If you don't know who you are, or you do, it affects everything, every aspect of your life. And a lot of times, like even relationships and marriages struggle and separate, divorce, because one of them, and usually the man, doesn't know who he is. Doesn't so God kind of goes with the wind, goes with the circumstances, finds out athletes do this all the time. Hey, my buddy in the locker room told me this. So before he told you that, what did you think? And what credibility does he have? How many years has he been doing this so that you can, you know, test his theory? And so a lot of times athletes make relationship decisions based upon input from athletes that aren't very good at relationships.
They have no track record.
And sometimes athletes make financial decisions based upon feedback, input, and recommendations from athletes that don't even make their own decisions about their money. And so, very interesting dilemma for athletes, because the guys they love and trust and go to war with and do the blood, sweat, and tears game with are the ones that are least equipped to advise and counsel. But those are the ones they listen to because they trust and like them.
And it's understandable because you like references. You like personal references. But the thing about it is that it's very difficult when those references, because again, that bond creates that reference and referral, that referral. But you don't know how that perceived outcome was, how they arrived at that outcome. And again, that's where the behaviors come in. If you don't have the right attitude, if you don't know how to implement information that you've been given, just because somebody gave it to you, you don't know, you can't recognize whether or not it's for you or not. Because all you have is someone else's outcome. And that outcome is not going to be guaranteed to you because you have to do the legwork. And then when that legwork is not done, you're not going to get the desired outcome. The way in which we help people is to allow them to know that when we talk about decision making and problem solving, is that with the right attitude, you can get to the desired outcome. But if you don't have the right attitude, your desired outcome is not even it's not even in the direction in which you're trying to go, because your attitude gives you the perspective that you need to accomplish. And then along with that, it gives you the actionable things that are consistent with the attitude that directs you to the outcome.
Okay, let's talk about your 7 attitudes. List those off real quick.
Okay, it's sacrifice. Sacrifice. It's courageous. It's being courageous. It's being humble. It's being disciplined. It's being caring. It's caring. It's being responsible, and it's having tenacity, being tenacious, meaning you're not going to give up.
Okay, fine. I can only do one. I only got one. Which one do I got to do and why?
It depends on the stage that you're in. If you're in a stage where you need to know that you don't know, if you're looking for information, humble yourself. Humble yourself. And that's critical because that will open the doors to the rest of them. Because if you begin to realize that there's people out there that has what you need, okay? And that means you're willing to learn. You're willing to learn. It's really the forefront of this thing is realizing that I don't have to have all of the answers. I just have to be willing to be open enough to receive information. It's the curiosity that really helps us navigate this thing called life. Because without it, we're thinking that we have everything that we need, making decisions based on what we don't know.
Play an expert in everything that we have no expertise in.
Absolutely.
No, I love that. I think you're preaching right there because, as a man, getting a job, being an athlete, it doesn't matter what arena you're in. You want people to think you got it figured out. We all, I mean, why do, like in even combine interviews, players don't know the answer and they guess because they don't have the confidence and the humbleness to just say, hey, that's something, coach, I don't know. The coach would rather know that he would rather know that that you don't know than for you to guess.
You're teachable. When you say you don't know and you're looking for an opportunity to expect, because see, someone who thinks, there's this adage is you fake it till you make it.
Mhm.
Eventually, you're going to be seen. You're going to be revealed that you don't know because you, when you're faking it, you're just trying to be perceived as having what it takes to do what it is that you're doing. It doesn't say that you have what it takes. You just want to be perceived as having what it takes. And that's not going to last you long. It's not going to serve you well long term. And so when you realize that it's not going to be beneficial. The thing that I learned where you were talking about as you're going to combat and you're going to those interviews and things like that, thing I learned in the military, you don't have to have the answer. You just have to want to find out the answer. So here's the answer to a question that you don't know the answer to. I don't know it, but I'll find it out. I'm telling the person who's interviewing me that I'll get the answer for you. If something comes up that I don't know, I'm going to do what it takes to get the answer. I'm going to seek it. And guess what? That means that life is going to be he's going to be always growing because it's going to be something that he's not going to know every day that he's going to seek the answer for. And he's going to be a better person tomorrow than he is today.
So I can only imagine that when you categorize these 7 attitudes, that different ones kind of rise to the top in importance based upon the 4 different areas. So let's talk about health,
Mhm.
whether it's mental, spiritual, physical. What are the attitudes that are most important in that area?
And health is discipline and sacrifice. Discipline and sacrifice is probably the 2 primary ones because it's going to be you're going to be required to sacrifice some things that you like and have to be disciplined to do some things that you don't like.
Mm, okay. What about finances?
Finances, it's really interesting because there's different stages of your life that finances take on a different stage. If you're single, sacrifice is really about preparing yourself for the future. Sacrificing these little knickknacks and things right now, putting things in place so that you can prepare. And what it's you're preparing for, it's going to be depending on what it is that your next thing. Because caring is preparing for someone else's best interest, your family. You have to have a desire to want to care for someone else. That goes into legacy. That goes into everything that you're preparing. Finances is a part of it. You can't expect to go through life and not be financially a good financial steward because not only are you going to have to take care of yourself, you have to even take care of yourself, take care of those that are coming up behind you, your family. And this is where people realize the thing about you understand insurance. If you don't care for anybody, you don't see any value in taking out life insurance. You're selfish. You don't want to. Yeah, it's not about. And this is not about you. That you're caring for someone else. The insurance, and these are things again we're not taught this. Your insurance is talking about, why do I want to pay for somebody else to get some money?
That's true.
Because you care for someone else. If you're not there to provide for them,
How many kids you got?
none,
No kids?
no kids,
No kids. 29 years?
29 years.
That's okay.
But been a caregiver for 18 years. Mother-in-law, my dad.
Well, here was my question: is when a man becomes a dad, there's a reset, and I've seen it with my own kids. There's a reset because your everything is challenged. Your time, your money, your selfishness, all those things are challenged. So I was just, I think with young men, I'm not talking about somebody having a kid when they're 40s. That is a huge test of your identity, your priorities, because you got this person now you got to take care of. And guys can't have a baby by themselves. So there's another person involved too. So you got to take care of. Now you go from one person to worry about to three people you have to worry about. So
That's why what we try to do is to get this information into the younger generation. The sooner you're aware of understanding who you are, the better you are able to prepare and provide for those that are around you and those that you are meant to care for. What happens is that we put the proverbial buggy before the horse, and we're trying to figure out ourselves after we have a mouth to feed other than ourselves. And that's a long, hard uphill journey, because the moment is not going to allow you to have to consider what you didn't know about yourself in the moment where you need to care for someone else. It doesn't give you that latitude. You got to do it on the run, and it's typically not done because everybody's talking about, I had to do this for them. Yes, you do. But the fact is that when you're unprepared to do what I like to tell you is that you can't give what you don't have. And if you've not developed yourself well enough to be able to give, you can't be expected to give something that you don't have. But we put ourselves in situations where we expected to do that.
yeah, there's a listener out there that's either dealing with some financial struggles, financial failures, maybe didn't invest like they should, save like they should, or have the insurance coverage they need, or they just went to the doctor and they got a bad doctor's report. And now they're trying to figure out life because they've got some serious health issues, or they just got served and they didn't see it coming. And their wife wants a divorce. So let's pick one of those three areas. You pick it, or all three. I'd hate to see somebody with all three. How can you give them hope? How can you give them a clear journey pathway to getting back on track?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna share this with you up front. The book I wrote was called Love Made Simple. And many people hear that and they think it says love made easy. These attitudes of love that we teach are not easy to implement. They are very, very difficult, but it gives you what you need to begin to reorient, to transform your circumstances. And I'm going to speak very broadly when I say this, because in each one of those examples that you shared, there's going to be required some sacrifice. There's going to be and here's the thing, in the relationship where the one wants to leave the other one, that's out of one's control. And here's the thing about control. It's not something that you can do. All we can do in this life is manage. The moment is at hand. She wants to go, manage it. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to prevent it. Manage it. That's where you have your total abilities are in managing that moment. And so You have to let it go. And now you have to say, how do I manage her letting go? Now, the reasons why she left is a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. But internally, you've got to say, that's where I am. That's what the situation is. Now, if you want to work on that relationship, now that's a whole different story. But you've got to have psychologically, you've got to say, okay, this is where I am. This is what she wants to do. Now, if it allows us an opportunity to come back, to discuss it, to talk about it, then we can look at to see what I could have done differently. What I could now, if we're talking about reconciliation, what can I do differently? What can I that's a different conversation. But when the papers are in your hand, to sit there try to fight that, that's not the time to fight that. It's the ability to manage that.
Be more specific about what manage means.
Manage means that you allow yourself to sit in the moment and accept that which it is. Acceptance is really the management of it, is accepting whatever the situation, the diagnosis. Accept it. Okay. Now, that's one thing because these are things that mentally you're going to be able to have to manage going forward from there. Because now that I accept, see, I can run around saying, I don't have, I don't have, I don't have. That's not accepting it because you can't operate from something you haven't accepted. You can't, you can't change anything that you haven't accepted. You can't navigate anything that you have not accepted. Once you accept it, then you have a chance to be able to navigate it.
I have 3 A's in my mind: awareness, acceptance, and action.
Those are all absolutely good A's.
They're good A's. You got to do them all.
Absolutely. And they're none of them are easy. None of them are easy because the situation and circumstances allows the challenge. But the better you are in going through this process makes the next challenge a little bit easier. And I say that in a sense of you are aware of the steps that it takes and you know what it's going to take is making it a little bit more acceptable. Because when you first start this, it's like, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good. Awareness, that's not going to change anything. See, a lot of the stuff you got to realize is that we carry a lot of baggage that we try to hold on to. And when you accept something, it's automatically is going to address some baggage that we've been trying to hold on. And that baggage is like, you don't want to accept this because that means you got to let that baggage go. And if you accept this, that means if you don't accept it, you get to hold on to your baggage. And that baggage is what got you to this point.
Yep. I got another A. ACL. When you tear your ACL, it's hard. But when you tear the ACL in the same knee for a second time, it's hard, but it's easier because you know the routine, you know the schedule, you know the protocol. And so what you just described to me in using that ACL example is that when you let go of your baggage, when you have acceptance of your situation, and when you have awareness of it and you take action on it, you at least know the steps in the process you're going to have to go.
You get the confidence. You get the confidence of understanding that you're going to be able to make this. And here's the thing, you're going to be better off than going through this. And I'm not saying everybody's going to want to go through anything twice because that's ideally that's not the ideal situation. If you learn something from it, you don't want to have to repeat it. But life doesn't always you don't get exactly what you want in life. So the point is that how well prepared are you? And if you've done it once, you should be a little bit well prepared to be able to handle it again. Okay. So you're not looking for another chance at it. But if by chance it happens, we should be well prepared, a little bit better prepared for it this time than we were the last time.
And when you have friends and colleagues or family that are going through something, you're more equipped to help them overcome their baggage because we all got it.
Yeah. But realizing that, how do I say this? Everybody has to carry their own bag. You can maybe help people identify their bags, but everybody's got to pick up their own. They got to
No
carry their own.
concierge service. No concierge service, somebody to carry your bags for you?
No, not
You gotta
not
do it yourself.
not in this thing called life. Everybody everybody got to pick up their own. And the thing about it is that the problem is that that awareness that you talk about, people don't aware that they're carrying them. They're not aware they grew up with these bags attached and they've been navigating and managing them. And I'm not saying managing, they've been tolerating them. They've been dealing with them in a way that allowed them to get to the point where when they realize that they've been carrying it, they'd be like, wow, I've been making decisions based on this weight that wasn't even mine.
Sometimes it's passed down. We get it from our dads, we get it from our yeah, it's passed down. And we don't even have a clue.
Mm-mm,
Could be
mm-mm.
multi-generational.
And it's here's the thing, it's intended to be that way. Don't be wrong. Don't get me wrong. We, this thing called life and families, and it's meant to do that. It's just unfortunately the things that we've been allowed to attach ourselves. It's not productive. They're non-productive. You know, they don't look at the bigger picture. They just look at the moment. And there's like, you know, a good example. You got parents that work 2 and 3 jobs, don't spend the time with their children. The children grow up, they have all their needs met, but they don't have their parent there to give them the guidance, the directions, the consult that they need in moments, making decisions day to day because they're out making the money so that they could do what they want them to be able to do that they were unable to do as parents, as they when they were children. But that cost, the cost of that, it's huge to those children because they now have had everything. It's this entitlement. And I say this a lot. We've created a generation of entitlement, but they have no idea what the cost was. They don't know what it cost. And we were not there to be able to guide them through the value of this cost because it really didn't matter as long as we gave them what we didn't have. And so we didn't give them the guidance that they needed. So now they've gotten to a point where life is supposed to be given to them. Doesn't work.
My mind shifts to the positive too, which sometimes the wind beneath your wings is something that your parents did and passed you. You know, whether it's the belief that you can go to college or go to grad school or whatever the case may be, accomplish something that other people don't think they can accomplish, but you know you can because your mom and dad did it or your uncle did it.
Hmm.
Somebody did it. And so when you talk about clear journey, you've got to look at both what are the obstacles in your way, in your pathway to having a clear journey, but you also have to look at who opened the doors for you on your journey because, you know, we do pass that down. You know, it's like parents that make their children, you know, like just exposure to different things. Hey, maybe I can do that. It expands their curiosity, you know? So, yeah, I just looked at the clock. We've solved almost all the world's problems,
Hey,
or some. Some. Come on, give us some credit.
hey, give us the right mindset to approach the world with.
Exactly. Hey, what would you like to share for those people still listening? We didn't put them to sleep.
Hopefully we didn't.
Hopefully not. What
Hey,
what is like your mantra right now? What book are you promoting? What
here's what we do, and then we really encourage. We have a an event that we take every month. It's the fourth Saturday of the month. It's called Real Life Talk, and we really want people to come out and be a part of it. You go over to our website, register for the event. We send you a link, and it's on Zoom. It's virtual all over the country. Come on out, and we talk in real life, real talk. How do we? It's really basically what we talk about. How do we take this information, these attitudes, and implement them in our situation? What's your circumstance? What's going on in your life that you need some guidance, some directions in with the right mindset? So we do that once a month. And by all means, join our YouTube channel. Clear Journey Inc. is our YouTube channel. We have a boatload of videos up there. We have one called It's Life, where we bring on various professionals talking about either finances, relationships, health and wellness. And we talk about they giving us good insight as it relates to how we can do that, navigate that space. And then we have another podcast called The Philosophy of Love. And it's really the science behind love, basically understanding that this is no fluke. It's more than just a feeling, it's a mindset. And when you really gain this mindset, it will transcend your world. It will take you out of your situation and give you a transformative mindset to allow you to navigate life more successfully. So be a part of that. Join the community. We're a nonprofit. If you want to feel the urge to want to support us, feel free to donate. We have that also available for you to be a part of our journey. But we're here just to help everyone navigate life more successfully.
Well, thank you very much, Juan. Enjoyed the convo. Appreciate what you do. Encourage anyone that's listening that is, just have this little urge to maybe learn more. Check out his website. I look in the show notes and you can get clarity on where to go. Jump into the community. I love the real life talk deal. That sounds really amazing. And go out and have an awesome day.
Appreciate. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, that's a wrap. I want to thank you so much for listening to Pro Mindset Podcast today. I hope you found something that's relevant to you. I hope it's something that maybe can help you be your best in your biggest moments. And if you like the show on all the different platforms, subscribe, like, or share. Go out and have an awesome day today. Go out and have a Pro Mindset day.